have another book finally, Angelina and Alice. For those of you that are Angelina fans, here she is, and that's her friend Alice. Our little mouse friend. Well, this story is by Katharine Holabird, and the illustrations are by Helen Craig. Angelina jumped for joy the day Alice came to school. Alice loved to dance and do gymnastics, and she was good at all the same things as Angelina. They quickly became close friends and were always together. At breaks, they skipped rope and did cartwheels round and round the playground. They mean like at recess breaks. And here is a picture of them at their school in the background, and they're out on the playground. You can see the swings and all the different mice. Some are white and some are brown, and they're all playing together. Have you ever met somebody that you really just became friends with right away and you had a lot of fun with them? And that's how Alice and Angelina were. They had a lot in common. They loved to see who could hang upside down longest on the trapeze bar without wiggling. Here's a picture of them hanging upside down. Now, some of these activities are actual gymnastic type activities, but some of them are just mouse related. So keep that in mind. It might be something mice could do. But here they are hanging upside down, seeing who could hang like that the longest without wiggling. Oopsie, got a little background noise today. Who could swing highest on the swings or do the most somersaults in the air? And here they're swinging way high on those swings. Yikes, that looks kind of almost too high, doesn't it? Yeah. They were just had the same kind of interests. Angelina was good at cartwheels and could even do the splits. But Alice, well, she could do a perfect headstand with her toes pointed straight in the air and never lose her balance. So here's Alice watching Angelina do the splits when you spread your legs apart flat on the ground. And here is Alice doing a perfect headstand with her arms, not a headstand, a handstand. There's a difference. Her hands are down, her feet and tail are straight as a rod there, right? Well, Angelina tried to do that headstand, and she always fell over when she tried to do a handstand, which was embarrassing, especially if they were on the playground. She wanted to be perfect and do it right every time, and she couldn't do it because she had to practice. See? So she's not doing a terrible job. She's learning, and she's certainly trying, which is the most important thing if you want to learn something. But she had trouble doing it, and it takes a while, right? Sometimes you learn to do something. Sometimes you have to say, well, I don't think I can do that one, but I'll try something else that I can do. Well, one day, Angelina fell right on her bottom, and the older children pointed at her and laughed. Was that nice? Very naughty. One of them giggled and said, "Look, Angelina, Tumbelina," and another whispered to Alice, and then something awful happened. First, I'll show you this picture. Here is poor Angelina. She fell and landed on her bottom, and here are the girls making fun of her. And Alice is standing there listening. What do you think Alice should do if they're making fun of her friend Angelina? What would you do if you were Alice? Think about that a minute, because I'm going to show you what Alice did. Something awful happened. Alice giggled too. In other words, she laughed at Angelina too and ran away to play with the other children, the older children that were there, while Angelina sat behind the swings, and what do you think she did? She cried. What was Alice thinking? They whispered in her ear and kind of said, "You can be our friend. We're going to laugh at Angelina." And she kind of had the idea, well, if I don't go along with those older mice children, they'll make fun of me too, or I may not be included in the group. So she decided to turn her back on Angelina, laugh at her, which is really nasty, and run off to play with the older children and leave Angelina alone. And you can imagine that made poor Angelina cry, right? But let's see what happens. The next day was worse. They were all saying that expression, Angelina Tumbelina, because she had taken a tumble. And they were saying it over and over on the playground, and Angelina couldn't find Alice anywhere. Angelina couldn't concentrate at school. She made lots of mistakes in her spelling. She couldn't eat her sandwiches at lunch either. She just felt kind of sick to her stomach because of the way she was treated. And by the time the class was lining up for gym, Angelina felt so sick, she wished she could go home. Here's the pictures. Here's poor Angelina with her little lunch bag on the edge of the playground, and there's all the other kids playing happily and leaving her out. And here they're lining up for gym, and they said by the time the day came, must be the gym teacher, and all the kids are in their gym clothes lining up. Look at, everybody's talking to and have partners and friends, and there's Angelina all alone. It's hard. It's hard. I remember being picked on when I was in school, and I kind of had a queasy stomach, like a sick to my stomach feeling too. It just wasn't nice. Well, Mr. Hopper, the gym teacher, blew his whistle for silence. Doot! And he said, "You've all worked so hard at your gymnastics over the year that we are going to do a show for the village festival. Everyone needs to find a partner and start practicing now." Angelina looked at the floor. Oh dear, who could she ask? She was afraid nobody would be her partner. And a big tear ran down her nose. Poor Angelina. There's the teacher, Mr. Hopper. Oops, sorry. Here he is, blowing his whistle, making the announcement. And here's all the kids talking and looking around for a partner in the gym. And who's standing all alone looking so sad? Right, our friend Angelina. And then something happened. She felt a tap on her shoulder. And she turned around, and it was Alice. "Will you be my partner, please?" Alice asked. I think she said yes. And all that afternoon, Angelina and Alice worked on handstands in the gym. "Just keep your head down and line up your tail with the tip of your nose," Alice said patiently. "That always helps me to stay up straight longer." Alice was a good teacher, and soon Angelina could do a handstand without falling at all. It just meant practice, didn't it? There she is, being surprised by Alice tapping her on the shoulder and saying, "Would you be my partner?" And here they are practicing. Here she's a little wobbly, here she's a little straighter. She's listening to Alice's encouragement and advice, and look at that. Straight up and down handstand. Well, Mr. Hopper taught them how to swing in a beautiful circle over the bar and how to actually fly through the air and land neatly balanced on the mat. And here they are. They're going swinging around on the bar. These are uneven parallel bars, and if you've been watching the Olympics, which you have, you've seen these bars, and you can do tricks on them and swing around and land plop right evenly and gracefully on the mat. Everybody's watching, and they're encouraged by what they see Angelina doing, and they're smiling, and looks like they're clapping for her too. This is a good time to read this book, I thought, because they show some gymnastic equipment. I forgot to show you here. This is, some people call it the horse, the pommel horse, but it's something that they do jumps over. And here the mice are just sitting on it so they can watch the show here. but it's a part of the gymnastics equipment. Mr. Hopper also taught them to work with the rings and on the bars and to do rhythmic gymnastics with colored ribbons. You can see all of these things in the Olympics. And let's look at a picture of it. Here they're doing ring routines where they're now the girls' gymnastic team doesn't have rings, but the boys does. And still, it's an opportunity to get up on them and learn. And here, this is on the balance beam. And that certainly is in the Olympics. And here, they used to have this in the Olympics. I'm not sure if they still do, but it's like ribbon dancing. And it's amazing what you can do with that ribbon when you turn it just right. And the girls are doing a beautiful dance, which the teacher is teaching them. Finally, Mr. Hopper showed them a terrific balancing trick that they could do for the show. So he's showing Alice and Angelina a terrific balancing trick, and he recognizes that both of them are very talented in gymnastics, and so he's teaching them, and that's what all the class is really cheering them on. Well, the day of the village festival was bright and beautiful. Here's the festival. You can see some of the scenery here. All these different mice families coming with their parents or grandparents, and they're coming to this beautiful park, and there's a festival going on. There's a sign over here, and it says, "Today, a display of gymnastics by the children of Mousel School." And it shows two tiny little mice they're standing on one hand in the picture. Well, the gymnastics class did a wonderful display at the village festival with high jumps, backflips, and balancing on the bars. And when Angelina and Alice did their balancing act together, even the older children were impressed. Wow. They all said that. Wow. How did you learn to do those amazing tricks? And here's some pictures of the festival and the people at it. And let's see what this is. A pin the tail on the cat and win a prize is this game. Pin the tail on the cat. And then this looks like some kind of a booth where they're selling candy. And all the people, some people have ice cream cones. I shouldn't say people. Some of the mice families have that. And everybody's watching the gymnastics show here. They're walking to it or sitting on the tree watching it or whatever. And then here is the show, and here is Alice and Angelina standing on their hands, pointing at each other and swinging their ribbons on their tails while other children are swinging it down here, and there's a ring routine, and oh my goodness, it was very impressive. And that's why the older children said, wow. Well, after the show, Mr. Hopper smiled and he said, that was really good teamwork. And Angelina and Alice grinned back. That's because we're such good friends, they said together. And there they are with Mr. Hopper. He's complimenting them, and they're got their arms around each other, and they're saying, that's because we're such good friends. And you know, when you decide to be a friend and work together with somebody and do teamwork, could be your family you're working together with to do teamwork, or a friend, or a group of friends. But when you do teamwork, the job gets done better, doesn't it? And you become closer friends, and you can work together well. And that's the end of our book, Angelina and Alice. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.